Ho'ailona means signs from nature, reflections from the spirit world. The appearance of a pu'eo, an endemic Hawaiian owl, is often interpreted as an omen, a powerful aumakua, guiding ancestral spirit. While filming Saltmaker Wilma Holy, a pair of pu'eo began circling overhead. Wilma remarked that she had not seen this for many, many years, and that the owls were granting her permission to tell her family's story. They were also blessing this film. From the flight of owls continues the timeless story of a people who look for the signs, a people connected to the earth, whose profound wisdom can bring us together in the spirit of aloha. The Hawaiians. From the beginning of time, when the cosmic night becomes the living world of light, when Po, the darkness of the unknown, the darkness of the night, becomes Au, the light of every living thing. We begin with a creation chant called Kumulipo. Mankind is one with all of creation. Such is Hawaiian thought from the beginning of time. That humanity is linked to the stars of the heavens, to the gods of the spirit world, to the creatures of the sea. From Papa, Mother Earth, and Wakea, Father Sky, emerges the living worlds of both nature and humanity. In a many-layered legend, it is said that Wakea's first child is stillborn. The infant body is buried, and from his earthen grave sprouts kalo, Hawaii's primary food. Kalo represents nature, and as the firstborn, he is the elder brother of mankind. For Papa's next child is man. As the eldest, nature feeds and nurtures man, sustaining humanity lifetime after lifetime. Man, in turn, must respect, cultivate, and care for his elder brother nature. They are two siblings living in harmony. It is from this harmony that Hawaiians claim Heali'i ka aina, he kawa ke kanaka. The land is chief, man is her servant. And so it all begins with the aina, the land, revered as a living being, the culture itself evolving out of water. Ancient practices were founded on nature and inspired by the gods. Saltmaker Wilma Holy.
Behind of me are the ancient salt beds of Paniolo Point on the island of Kauai. It is here that my ancestors began salt making. We've been making salt in our family for generations. I mean, it goes far, far back. Far back as the 1700s. It is a process that the family still adheres to, despite intrusive government interference wanting to regulate the making of salt, and others who are disrespectful of the culture. In the olden days, we used to leave the salt down here and allow it to dry. Nowadays, people aren't so respectful. They will come and harvest what we harvested. Despite those kinds of intrusiveness, we continue to practice our tradition according to the ways that our ancestors taught us. And for us, we know that we must adhere to those ways, lest we incur the wraths of the gods and whatever they may inflict upon us. So for us, this is our kuleana. This is our responsibility to protect the malama and to continue to perpetuate the salt making tradition. About 90% of the salt makers here today are not from this area. So for many of these people, they do not continue the cultural protocol that this place requires.
I think all the work that I do should speak for myself, and I think every good filmmaker's work should, speak for themselves. And so I'm not really that wonderful talking directly with you, because my work should talk for me. But since I have the opportunity, which is half of why I think I might get so emotional about this, is that when I grew up, I did not see any images of me. I didn't see TV that showed me. The Ozzie and Harriet dinner table, to me, was a little strange. Like, where's the rice? Where's the poi? Where's the noodles? Where are the 3 starches that I've always grown up in one meal recognizing? So that, for me, the opportunity to have a voice with you today is a tremendous moment for me. Picasso there's a story in art school, I think almost every kid who goes to an art school has heard this, that Picasso berated a painter in public terribly in the square. And he said, "How can you ever call yourself an artist? You're so young." The guy was 50. "How can you call yourself an artist? How dare you even consider yourself worthy?" And maybe he was right, because we don't really have the name of the painter ever. It's always the artist. And so with greatest respect for the word and the task of being an artist and making art, I am here to propose to you that we need to support the arts. Because for some of us, and I think for many of us, the arts are as essential to life as the air we breathe. So in the arts, we're not performing heart surgery, and we're not winning a pennant, the World Series, but we are providing a service that is so very important. And for me, growing up in Hawaii, seeing images that depicted me would have been really great. And so my work has been on a road toward doing more of that for other kids that are growing. So let's take artists. Artists are tasked with the job, willingly, of reflecting the world around us. And we do this by taking a concept or an idea and turning it into a picture or words on a page, taking a blank canvas and creating just a beautiful something, music. And for some, it's a sound stage, and that becomes their field of greatest challenge. So kind of like a designated driver, I feel that art and artists are mandated to kind of like a medic even. That odd kid that sat on the sidelines, that wasn't all maybe engaged 100%, but that person later, an artist's role, sitting on the sidelines and saying, "Hey, society, getting a little off kilter." Or like a canary sent down into the mines to report back like, "Oh, the air's okay, you can move forward." Okay. I feel that that's our job. And I'm here to say, I'm the canary, or one of them, and things to me look a little strange. Jams and jellies, I'll get to this. The jams and the jellies that you and I see all across the country, those little plastic jellies that you get in a diner or anywhere from here, Waikiki, minutes away, to San Francisco, to Milwaukee, to New York, those same jellies all across the country. I feel that way about our news. I feel that way about our entertainment. Our entertainment, big box food. We buy our food at the same big box store. We wear the same clothing from a big box department store, of which there are probably only 3 left in the whole country. Right? We dine at the same 10 restaurant chains across the country. We are becoming one big oneness, and that's very comfortable. But I don't know if that's very enjoyable. So the work that I'm attracted to is to feature and to honor the ordinary, extraordinary people that I meet along the way. And I think that they exist in every small town USA. There is this deep well of wisdom in every small town USA, and it can be with that shoemaker down the street, or the woman, your auntie that makes green corn tamales at holiday, or my gung who made this incredible stuffed duck with barley and lemon peel. Okay, all these people in our lives that somehow maybe go to the wayside, and we don't take the time to preserve. So I enjoy very much doing this because I can feel the return quite often. So when you're doing something like a film or, any piece of work that's good, you're not just selling an idea. You should be reaching someone with an emotion, and when that clicks and that emotion is felt, there's something else that happens. And it's almost like this moment can be hardwired in our brain under a file that says, wow, that's great, that felt good, or wow, that's me. So in what we do and what we document, I think that we can do more to preserve the little things, the ordinary things, and I think it's so essential to our survival. One story I always remember, I think that illustrates this best, is that the misconception of those of us who do work in this part of the world, stories that emanate from the Pacific are only relevant to the Pacific. Not true. I think that every place, every people who are tied to and can remember, let alone recognize and then translate what the Hawaiians call ha'ailona, the signs from nature, these talents are essential to our survival in this century. So the story I think of is in 2004, the day after Christmas, in the Indian Ocean, an earthquake struck and caused a series of tsunamis that hit 14 countries' coastal shorelines and killed 230,000 people. 230,000 people. And in the wake of this disaster, scientists flew to a very remote atoll to search out, I think they said 400 to 1,000 inhabitants of 5 tribes. They call them primitive tribes. And these people lived in pretty much a Paleolithic lifestyle. They rubbed 2 stones together to create fire. They hunted with bow and arrow. They fished on the shorelines. And they lived communally in huts made out of leaves. So they went there expecting devastation. And what they found was every single tribal member was fine. They were up in the hills, having lunch. And when asked, how did you know? How did you know it? They had fled the shorelines well before the tsunami had hit their coastal areas, where they would have been fishing like they did every day. For, by the way, anthropological DNA studies cited that they were there for, could be almost 70,000 years, these peoples. The tribal leader responded by saying, we saw signs from nature. Passed down, not unlike most Pacific cultures, orally, without the written word. Not writing it down, no documentation, oral history telling. So no matter how our technology moves us forward and quicker, and I love technology, look what it's doing for education and distance learning. I mean, this is phenomenal. But we must see through the mechanism of the technology to the content. And that's where I'm most interested. So this tribal wisdom that was found, if you ask me, we can invent all the early warning for mega disasters as we can, but if it were up to me, I think I'm going to take their bus. I'm going to take the native bus. Actually, ideally, I'd like both. But I see that so quickly, we are losing the other. We're losing that very simple and most often found in indigenous cultures, that simple wisdom, like the guy down the street or your great-grandmother. I would hope that in my lifetime, I could see a turn in the country, in our culture, really, really celebrating all our differences and really heralding the uniqueness each and every one of us has. and no more big box stuff. You know, the breaking down of the big box culture and all that seems to have become a very strange reality for me. For instance, television of recent. We are watching, 20 million of us apparently, are watching a movie star's daughter turned son being humiliated in public, and we're calling this entertainment. I find it very strange. Okay, reality shows. Is this reality where you put, like, let's say 8 people together, they don't know each other in small quarters, you're paying them money and you're causing stress, and like, that's reality? So I would hope that on behalf of artists everywhere, that when you are approached by, okay, a buggy journalist, but an earnest journalist, or an artist, or your child, you know, your child comes to you and says, you know, Mom, I don't want to be the doctor. I want to be a painter. That you might take an open mind. One less. My great mentor and godfather was a composer. He had escaped Nazi Germany and Paris, and the war had ended. And he and Lola, his wife of many years, had only a few dollars. And she said, get dressed. Put your best dress on. It was like our only dress. So there she is in the cafe, and he hears, Bronick. And he said, I've been looking for you. They're your song before the war, Nignon. It was such a big hit. There's a man, he wants to meet you. His name is Louis B. Mayer, and he's from this place called Hollywood. He wants you to write songs for movies. And that was the beginning of Bronny's career. So Bronny moved to Los Angeles years later. I meet him 40 years on a soundstage in MGM, the old way, you know, the orchestra, you make a mistake, you do it all over again. Well, Bronny became such a wonderful mentor for me, and I was distraught. You know, I paint, and I'm doing this, and I don't know, I want to have a true artist's life. And he said to me, relax. What are you talking about? He says, can you think of anything worse than being 18 years old, and you're going to go to college because your father was a doctor, your mother's a doctor, her grandfather was a doctor, and his father was selling rags, so you're all going to be in medicine for sure. But you wake up one day, and you're 45 years old, and you have 3 kids, you're a doctor, and you realize, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be a jazz saxophonist. He says, can you think of anything more painful? So he said, relax. Take your time, but do one thing. Be authentic. Be authentic to yourself. Be authentic to all. And if we're all doing it right, I think they call that human ecology, where we have things working right, things that, who we are and the institutions that we build around us to make things work in harmony. And when we're all doing that, what a beautiful, wonderful world. So, thank you.